Welcome to the Mick, a Mook, and a Mike.
Hosted by four-time Emmy-nominated producer
Frank Mace and retired New York City firefighter, 9/11 first responder, and Vietnam vet, Billy O'Connor.
Today's guest,
Actor, director, Todd Grinnell.
Were you born an asshole? Or did you work it your whole life? Either way, it worked out fine. Cause you're an asshole tonight.
August Campbell, huh?
August Campbell, my brother.
My brother Frankie, how you doing?
Another day, another dollar.
That's a theme song. I got a new theme song. You were born an asshole? Or you were
What's a good start to the show, that's for
hell
sure.
of a show, hell of a show, hell of a show.
Todd Grinnell's on today, actor, bon vivant, former friend of Bill. We'll hear all about that in a little while.
A former friend of Bill. He's a friend of
He's
Bill.
friend of
You're
Bill.
always a friend of Bill.
Yep.
Unless you
He's
you slip.
He's a heck of an actor, too. He's a heck of an actor. So what's new with you?
I got a question
Yes,
for
sir.
you guys. So okay, you guys are retiring age. I know you're not retired. You both are still working. So if you were to retire,
Yes.
and I don't mean expire, I mean retire.
Yes. Because you're liable to expire before either of us.
It's possible, but I doubt it. But where would you?
Let's take a bet on it.
Let's do it. What do you want to bet?
How about your house?
If you win, you lose. You ain't going to get paid. If he dies first, how the fuck are you going to get paid?
We can put it in a contract, baby. That's how you do it.
I'll make it. I bet you $1 million you die ahead of me.
Okay.
So if you guys could live anywhere else besides the United States, where would you move or live?
Wow.
Anywhere else beside the United States?
That's a great question. I mean,
I haven't seen enough of the world to know where I would want to live.
You probably should start.
I am starting.
Okay, good.
I probably, if I had to live in another country other than the United States, believe it or not, I love Ireland, but I think I'd live in Italy. I think I'd go to Italy. I really liked Italy.
Yeah.
I mean, Bangkok is exciting, but now at 75,
Now that
Bangkok's a little.
now that you can't Bangkok anymore.
I can't do what I did in Bangkok anymore. Yeah, I can't Bangkok anymore. I mean, Thailand was a beautiful place for the water. Australia. Well, your son is living in Melbourne. That's one of my favorite cities in the world. Melbourne.
where your son is about to live in Melbourne.
Yeah, apparently. Thanks, guys, for the breaking news.
You just can't get far enough away from you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Melbourne, isn't there any place more isolated than
Bangkok.
Borneo?
Borneo.
You know who's born in Borneo? Errol Flynn.
Really?
Who's Errol Flynn?
Wild man from Borneo. Errol Flynn was born in Borneo.
That's quick,
Wow.
really. Damn.
But you know, Errol Flynn had sailed the 7 seas before.
Before he sailed the 7 seas.
No, before people had GPSs and shit like that. When it was really something that you were doing something, you were using celestial navigation and shit.
Yeah. That's crazy.
I don't know where I'd live. I know it would be someplace warm. Meatloaf, and I'd have to serve meatloaf.
Someplace warm.
Really, you don't want to go out, you don't want to just take a shot, right now. Just maybe, possibly pick a place.
We were when I was coaching soccer at Flintred Sacred Heart Academy. We were playing a game, a round the world game, and everybody had to pick a country. So we said, one kid picked Italy, one kid picked France. It came to this other kid named Jesse, and we said, Jesse, what country would you want to live in? She said, Hawaii. She was paying for a private school. Private school, Hawaii.
The
country was Hawaii.
Beautiful place, though, man.
Hawaii, yeah, I think Hawaii's beautiful. I mean, I was only there twice.
Yeah, but you get landlocked.
I tell you, I think the Caribbean blows it away.
Well, I would like to live in the Caribbean. I just never been there.
Huh.
I
You
really
never
do.
been in the Caribbean?
Do you think the Caribbean?
Wait a second. Did I say I've ever been to the Caribbean?
Yeah.
Well, what made you say that you never? What you questioned me for?
Because I thought you were a well-traveled guy, But oh well.
Well, what do you think? Do you think the Caribbean's more beautiful than Hawaii?
Oh.
I mean, Hawaii to me is like Florida on steroids, like Key West on steroids. It's amazing, the plants, but for the water itself.
Oh, well, that's different. Yeah.
The water, there's no contest.
yeah.
Caribbean is much,
See,
much.
I couldn't have lived any place outside of the United States until the last 10 years.
Right.
Because I need television, I need satellite, I need internet. That's the way I live now. So if I could live in a warm weather place right by the ocean, as long as I could plug into, watch TV.
Well, where would you have to go nowadays to not have the internet?
Well, that's what I mean. I
Yeah.
couldn't have gone any
10
place
years ago, no.
10 years ago, but now internet,
Yeah, any place.
satellite TV, I could live any warm water place.
Plus, I would imagine that the reason why you feel this way too is you have a house in Pebble Beach, and that's pretty
That's
close to
pretty good.
paradise.
Yeah, that's
pretty
just
good.
pretty. Like when I went up to your house and stayed a weekend, I said I'm going to use it as a jump off point. I want to go up north and see. You said you'll never leave Pebble Beach, and you were right. I mean, Pebble Beach is absolutely gorgeous. It's breathtaking, beautiful. But
Yeah, I mean, there's places in, south of here also that are incredibly beautiful.
and again, it depends on what you want and what stage of your life you're in. What you're after, I definitely I love the Caribbean, but when I first started going down the Caribbean, I'm talking maybe 30 years ago. We go on a sailboat trip and shit. We'd load up bottles of rum with $2, for a bottle of rum, and load up with all the supplies. And you walk into a restaurant, it was comparable. It was a $5 hamburger in them days. Let's say $7 for a hamburger. Now, if they're wise to all that shit, they see these $340,000, $400,000, $600,000 yachts out there, and you want to get a hamburger, it's $40. It's like it ain't cheap like it used to be.
I could live in the south of France also.
Oh, now we're talking. See,
South of
See?
France. Now we're talking.
Yeah.
So you were down by where? Cannes?
Con, yeah.
Cannes is pronounced Cannes.
He's like, get it right, buddy.
But
Yeah, the Caribbean now is prohibitively. I mean, people have wised up. I mean, these are rich Americans coming down and they're going to make a buck. You know what? We talked about Key West before. Very interesting in Key West. They live off tourism, obviously. It's a small little spot. But if you go in there as a local and order a beer into a bar down there, it's $4 for a beer if you're a local. If you're not, it's 12.
Yeah.
If you're
I
a
love
regular.
that. I love that. That's such a great idea.
That's a pretty good idea, really.
Yeah.
Because they
surge pricing.
but they do that in the Caribbean now.
Okay.
If you're in the Caribbean, and racial profiling aside, if you're not speaking like you're from the Caribbean, you're paying through the nose, and that's the way it is. Because
should be that way.
yeah, it should actually.
Yeah.
It depends on tourism.
Yeah.
I'm not bitching about it, but it never used to do that.
I mean, because Hawaii is like very expensive.
You're paying through the ass.
Yeah, and it's for everybody.
Yeah, unless you're Hawaiian. I'm sure a Hawaiian guy goes into his local bar and gets a beer, and it's not going to be. We're both in the same bar, and he
Local
walks
bar.
up and
Local bar.
yeah, he goes into a local and orders a
Yeah.
beer. He's going to
Local.
get charged a lot different than I am, and that's the way it really should be.
I like that.
I have no problem with
It's
that.
like baseball. They, you go to a Major League Baseball game, they charge more for the Dodgers versus the Yankees than they would for the Dodgers versus Colorado Rockies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Colorado Rockies.
And I'm sure.
Oakland A's, who are moving to Sacramento. Did you
Are
read
they
that
moving?
shit?
I didn't even know that.
Yeah, they're moving to a 14,000 seat minor league stadium in Sacramento until their new palatial home in Las Vegas is built in 3 or 4 years.
I love that.
So they got a sweetheart deal from Las Vegas to bring the team there. Well, you remember in our book, in Lamar's Gamble, the reason the Kansas City Chiefs are called the Chiefs is because the mayor
Yeah,
who gave him the sweetheart deal at Arrowhead,
it was named Chief. His nickname
his
was
nickname
Chief.
was Chief for the Boy Scouts, so they named the Kansas City Chiefs. I mean,
Love that too.
yeah, I mean, it's follow the money, man. Follow the money. Vegas.
The Irish Willies.
The Irish Willies. They never used to be able to make a bet on a Las Vegas team in Vegas. Like,
Oh, you couldn't bet. Well, that's right. You couldn't bet on anybody.
you couldn't
in
bet on a
Vegas.
team in Vegas.
Yeah.
In Vegas.
In the old days.
What was his name? The guy with the Tarkanian, right? The guy who was
Jerry-
chewing the towel.
Jerry
Jerry
yeah.
Tarkanian. He always chewing the towel. Because I used to watch the Running Rebels, and I wanted to make a bet on Vegas. If you're there, no good.
Okay.
But now, ain't nobody not betting on the Raiders if you're in Vegas. No problem. That line's going up. So all that shit's out the window. Everything's evolved. I mean,
How'd you end last year? Your betting? Were you up?
for the whole year, for
Yeah.
the entire year, if I was betting, I didn't really bet.
Oh, you
Down,
did?
Now
down
it's
how down how much? Let me just cut to the chase. Down how much?
You always lose.
Okay.
Everybody loses. I don't give a shit who you are. You always lose. The idea is, it's just like going to Vegas. If you want to bet football,
That guy Armin
gonna
wrote
lose.
the guy that Armin wrote the book about didn't lose.
No, he
that's
didn't.
different.
What's his name? Billy
Billy
what?
Walters.
Billy Walters.
There's only one Billy Walters. He gave the system. Let's be honest. I mean, he's not that he's a brilliant handicapper. He is a brilliant handicapper. But he also gamed the system.
Oh, so
Price
he's-
is everything.
So he's sort of like Trump.
Trump game the system.
Yeah. He's sort of like Trump, except
It's a trigger.
he has talent. You know what? I got to tell you, you want to watch something remarkable. And I show this to my son all the time for watching, because I like my favorite time of the year is March Madness for sports. I like the tournament, and I like, but unbeknownst to me, now bookmakers, you can bet in-game betting, right? But it's absolutely incredible as you're watching it, how the numbers are so on the money. I mean, how can they give you a score?
Yeah, I don't get it. Yeah.
I'm
It's
saying
crazy.
it's absolutely amazing. I know it's done with artificial intelligence. There's no way anybody can be that quick. I mean,
Yeah, but artificial intelligence has been around how many years? 10 years?
It's been around
it's-
longer than that, but
it's
still.
so sophisticated.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm telling you, it's. My son could tell you if he was here that when you're looking at the numbers, when you're looking at the numbers, I mean, it's like, for example, Connecticut game the other day, the line at the half. I like at the half. I look at the final. I like the numbers.
30 seconds.
79 and 79 and a half. It fell 79. It's like
Yeah,
it's
weird.
unbelievable how good they are.
Well, I think we got Todd Grinnell coming in.
Oh,
So
cool.
why don't we switch to Todd?
Somebody who's interesting.
Somebody who's not an asshole.
Hey, that's our theme song. I'm trying to live up to it.
Perfect.
Honey, honey.
Gentlemen.
Todd Grinnell, how are you, my friend?
Hey, guys. How are you?
That's Billy O'Connor.
How are you, Todd? Nice to know you,
Hey,
pal.
Billy.
That's Derek Harris.
Great to meet you.
My
Hey,
pleasure.
Derek.
So how'd your Little League team do today?
I think we won. I don't know. It's hard to tell. Hard to
Do
tell.
they not keep score? Is it one of these things everybody gets an award? One of them deals?
Yeah, kind of. I mean, some people keep score. I find it hard to keep track. Sometimes the kids don't touch the bases. They're running around. It's amazing.
How,
Thank you guys for. Here, I'm going to make sure. I'm going to pull you guys up so you're bigger here. There we go.
Well, you're gonna be looking at yourself when we switch to you talking. So just be aware.
Okay. All right. Great.
so how old are they?
Well, they're all like 5 and 6.
Okay.
Yeah, they're all 5 and 6. So it's they're great. I mean, they're great. These kids hit off the pitcher machine. It's something else, I gotta say, at that age. But they sometimes it's like herding cats.
Yeah. Well, I start counting. I'm all about winning.
Yeah.
So if you know
Yeah,
who
listen,
I am,
I'm very aware of my son's personal achievements.
you
That's
keep,
what I keep track of for sure.
and if he hits the
know.
ball, if he hits the ball in fair territory, I call it a hit, no matter whether an error occurred or not.
Yeah, absolutely. He was 2 for 2 today, so I was happy to.
Yeah, but who's counting? I'm not keeping track. I'm not keeping track. My son was 2 for 2.
We lost 40 to nothing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So Todd, welcome to the show. Billy,
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Pleasure to
This is
know
a real
you.
honor. I appreciate it.
Let me ask you a question. When did you get the bug? When did it first start? When did you know you were going to be an actor? Or did you know? Or did it? Was it
That's a great
serendipity?
question. I was, I always loved movies and TV. I grew up watching all the sitcoms I think you produced a lot of them, Frank. I was just addicted to sitcoms growing up and movies. But I didn't pursue it. I didn't pursue it in college. I went to school and got a history and political studies degree, and then I was going to work. I worked in politics. I was going to be a lawyer. I worked in politics for a minute in Boston.
what else would you do graduating from Pitzer? I mean,
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, you had to have quite a GPA to get into Pitzer in the first place. I think that's one of the most prestigious schools in the country.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. That's high praise. I went there in the 90s. It probably a little easier to get into then, but yeah, I mean, in Boston, where I grew up, acting wasn't really a profession that anybody entertained. And then when I went to school in LA, I started to see friends who were, legitimate actors and had to leave school for things, and were making money. And I said, I didn't realize this was like a real profession that people did, and I started to kind of think about it then. But I was working at the State House for a state senator in Boston after graduation, and I just kept thinking about it. I kept thinking about my friends who were actors, and I was going, that sounds like sounds like it'd be really fun. And so I started dabbling in acting classes in Boston, did a couple commercials, and I just got really bit by the bug there. And then I got my SAG card in Boston, and which at the time felt like I won an Oscar or an Emmy or something. I was like, I'm good to go. Let's go back to LA. I got my SAG card. I'm ready to go. So I moved back to LA, and then,
How long did you struggle before you realized that acting wasn't all it was shaped up to be?
I mean, it was a pretty rough landing. It was like as soon as I touched down in LA, I was like, oh, there's a lot of people doing this. This isn't the SAG. Getting your SAG card doesn't mean that you're just going to work forever. Yeah. And it's I worked in restaurants in LA for about 5 years, and then I got a big break. I hustled in restaurants, and I hustled around town. I did every black box play that I could find, and student film, and just was in class forever. And then I managed to get a small agent to represent me after a play I did in Hollywood. I did a play in Hollywood that was an ensemble. There were probably eight or nine people in the play, and when we would come out every night for our curtain call, we would double the size of the audience.
Yeah, wow. I was going to say there were 8 people in the audience too, right?
I mean, if that. I mean, we'd clap. You know how people come out on stage, they clap for the people. The tech, everybody's doing the crew, and our applause for the crew would drown out the audience applause, because there would be about like 3 people in the audience. So, but one of those nights, an agent came, and she offered to represent me, which was great. And I was also aware of what was going on, and I heard that they were casting. Warner Brothers was casting a new show called Four Kings, which was created by David Cohen and Max Muchnick, who, of course, created Will and Grace, among other things. And it was about 4 guys living in New York together. I was the right age, and I went into her office, and I was like, "Listen, if you don't do anything else for me in our relationship, just please try to get me in for this thing." And because I was a huge fan of Will and Grace, and I was a huge fan of Max and David and Jimmy Burrows, and I actually had seen them on Inside the Actors Studio the year before, and I had this epiphany when I watched them on Inside the Actors Studio that I was like, that's what I want to do. I want to work with those guys and be on a multi-camera sitcom. So when this thing came up, I was just convinced that this is what I had to do, and so I got an audition, and after probably 14 auditions later, they actually gave me the part, and I was able to quit my job at the restaurant.
So you were working on a restaurant when you were doing Lost Soul and The Dangling Conversation, and Hollywoodland was Hollywoodland before or after?
Hollywoodland was. We actually shot the pilot for Four Kings, and then I got Hollywoodland. You went deep down the resume, Frank. That's amazing. Dangling Conversation. That was a film I did in Boston that I don't know if anyone's ever seen it. But the interesting, I don't know if you know this about Hollywoodland. This was another one where I was, once I got Four Kings, I started to get more meetings and auditions and things. And I started to have general meetings, and I had a meeting with the casting director, and I'm drawing a blank right now. I'm having
at Warner's? At Warner's?
What's that?
Casting director at Warner's?
No, I don't remember who it was. I'll have to look it up. But she was great, and I had seen her for a couple things, but I had heard that they were casting Hollywoodland. And what's crazy, here's a funny story. Before I'm moving out to LA, I'm at home. I'm at my parents' house, and we have my great aunt over. And I had never met her. She lived in Minnesota. For whatever reason, I was 22 years old, and I had never met my great aunt. But we're sitting there. I finally get to meet her. I'm moving out to LA in a couple weeks. And she looks over, and she's in her 80s at this point. She looks over to me and she says, "Oh, you're moving to Harvard. You're gonna be an actor. That's great. Just like Superman." And I said, "Yeah, sure. I guess, yeah." She kept saying it, and I said, "What do you mean Superman?" She said, "Well, my half brother played Superman on TV. Your great uncle,
Wow, George Reeves.
George Reeves." And I looked at my parents and I said, "I'm related to Superman, and you guys didn't tell me this when I was 6 years old. This would have been great information on the playground." I mean, what is happening? I couldn't believe it.
It saved you from getting your ass kicked, because if I was a young kid and I would say, "I'm going to kick Superman's ass," I swear to God, in 1957, my father was going back to Ireland for the first time. Honest to God. And I'm at the airport, because it's a big deal for him to go back to Ireland. I was born in 48. We came here. But 57, he's going back to see his father. It's a big deal. And who's at the airport but George Reeves? Now, I'm just, 48. I'm 9 years old.
No.
I'm blown away. This is
Wow.
Superman. I'm flipped out over Superman. And I remember breaking his balls because he was having trouble looking at his luggage. They can't pick up his goddamn luggage. But
come on, Man of Steel, let's go.
with the Tarleton twins, going with the win.
And you were the Man of Steel, so I'm surprised he got out of the.
Look at his steal his fucking luggage.
There you go.
But that was a great
Different kind of steel.
I got to ask you a quick question.
Wait. I want to
go
go back to Four Kings. So, how many episodes did you do at Four Kings?
So we did 13 episodes. I think they aired 6, and then we were canceled. And what's funny is back then we were getting numbers like we were getting. I remember we were getting a 3-4, and I don't know what that. I think it was like 10 million viewers or something, and everybody was like, "Oh man, if we don't get a 3-5, we're done."
Yeah.
And now those numbers are insane.
And
be the hottest show on TV, right?
Yeah, it'd be a runaway hit.
So that was your first sitcom? So how long did it take for you to get used to filming in a proscenium and filming in front of a live audience?
Really quickly, because I've mostly done theater up until that point. And that's one of the things I love about multi-camera is that it's we're getting to do a 1-act play every week in front of an audience. I think it's the best gig in town, to be honest.
It is the best gig in town.
Listen, the hours are great. And we get to, my favorite part is we get to film in front of an audience. I mean, you can't beat it. It's great. And you can, you get another run at it. And it's just like live theater, except if you screw up, you can fix it. And it's just such a blast. So yeah, we did 13, but it was, it was a great show. It was just, it was right around the time that like My Name Is Earl and The Office were coming out, which were great shows, and people were kind of really excited about single camera comedies, and there was a little bit of a shift, at that time. And of course, these multi-camera sitcoms I feel like always have a
cyclical. They run in cycles.
Yeah.
They're in, they're out, they're in, they're out.
Like a honeymoon dick.
Sitcom.
Yeah.
I'm sorry for the metaphor.
Where you born, asshole? Oh my God. So who all was in Four Kings?
It was myself, Shane McRae, Josh Cook, and Seth Green.
Seth Green.
Oh.
Yeah. And the four of us became fast friends. It was great. It was just a magical experience. We had such a blast, and I loved working with Max and David. And we're still all really close.
So you were doing a lot of episodes then, a lot of episodic television between that time and the time you got One Day at a Time. Yeah.
So after Four Kings, it's funny because Four Kings was my first job, really, other than a commercial. So I'd never done a guest star on anything and all that stuff. And so, it was funny. I got Four Kings and I was like, all right, great. Like this is going to be the next Friends. I'm going to go boat shopping. And then it was canceled. And then I kind of I sort of paid dues in reverse, kind of. I spent the next few years doing a lot of guest spots, pilots, recurrings and all that stuff, and then a while later got One Day at a Time, and we did that for 3.5 seasons. which was
46. Would you do 46 episodes?
Yeah, we did 46 episodes, and then we got on, I think it was March 13th of 2020. We were due for our week-long hiatus within the month, and they said we went home, and then they called us the next day and said, we're going to extend the hiatus for another week. We're having a 2-week hiatus, and then we just obviously we had COVID, and the show never came back. Wow, which was sad. But we're all still really close, and that show was really, really special to me and to all of us. And
you played the Schneider character, which was an offshoot of Pat Harrington played the original Schneider, which could not air on television in his previous incarnation because Pat Harrington played a lout, so to speak. Well, he played an Irishman.
Oh, so he's obviously allowed.
He
couldn't help it. It was genetic.
It was genetic. He played an Irishman. Rolled up.
Listen, people are who they are.
But you brought Schneider to a whole different.
You don't play him as an asshole.
No, you played him as a pretty nice guy. Why don't you tell us how that came about? Tell us.
Yeah, it was interesting. I actually got Gloria Calderon-Kellett, who created the show. Well, created the reboot or the reimagining with Mike Royce and Norman. Is an old friend of mine.
Norman is Norman Lear, by the way.
Lear. Sorry,
I'm just going to say Norman.
You think you'll ever make it in the business?
Yeah.
Yeah, this guy right here.
All right, hey, that's great. That's terrific.
I stole that from one of his from his 100th birthday party. Wow. But so the three of them, so Gloria is an old friend of mine. We've done a lot of theater together, and she'd been asked to create this reimagining one day at a time. And I was so happy for her, and never thinking there was a part for me in it because I grew up watching the show. I knew what it was. I knew the characters, and I knew that they were doing in the reimagining. It was centered around a Latino family, so I just was just happy for her and didn't think anything of it for me. And then all of a sudden, I get an audition for Schneider, and I called her and I said, "I know who Schneider is." And I said, "That's not me. Did you get me this, or are my agents just really good at cramming me in a door that I wasn't supposed to go into?" And she said, no, we want to see you. It's kind of open. We don't really know what's going on with Schneider yet. I'm just curious to see what you do with it. And so I got to go in and do my take of it. And, luckily they liked it. And they had a really interesting casting process. Norman's thing was we all have to agree unanimously when we cast something. We all have, Mike, Gloria, and him all had to be unanimous in the decision. And I think when I initially went in, they were still thinking, maybe Schneider is a woman. They really were kind of all over the place, trying to decide what would be best for the character. And so I went in a bunch of times, and read for it. And, luckily they liked what I did. And Schneider became obviously changed. The interesting thing about it was that Schneider basically became the face of white privilege to this family and sort of a great foil for them. But then also, I was lucky that they took a lot of input from my life and ideas, and they just had they just wrote so well to that character. For me, I was just very, very lucky. That Schneider got to be, because that character, I think, in a lot of multicams could have been a really one-dimensional sort of clown. I'm
going to stop you because in most multicams, it would have been the clown, because the thing that got you cast in the first place was that it was a Latino family, a Latina family. Because if it was straight white people, you wouldn't have been cast as Schneider, because they would have been looking for, as it so happens today, they would have been looking for a diversity candidate, a candidate who filled the diversity role. So
maybe, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I think they were just interested in having Schneider be, sort of really detached from this family, right. In a way, so that because I would come in and just really be clueless as to what was going on within the family or anything around himself, which is, it's great for, comedy thrives in opposites. And so I think that's what was great about Schneider, is like he just was just on another planet from this family.
And you
and it
said
was also
you said
a
your
great way to educate.
yeah, you said your personal life was used in a number of episodes. Billy, of course, is a friend of Bill W. You're a friend of Bill W. also. Why don't you tell us a little?
It's interesting. I mean, you're always once you're a friend, you're either dry or you're not dry, and you're always going to be a friend of Bill W. It's not like your former. Do you still do meetings and stuff? Do you still go, or?
I'm very sober. Yeah.
You still go, yeah.
Yeah. I just celebrated 22 years.
That's fantastic.
So thank you.
Congratulations, man. That's the hardest thing I ever did. The
Yeah.
hardest thing I ever did in my life was put that plug back in the jug. No doubt about it.
Yeah.
I mean, I've got a
plug in the
few
jug.
minor accomplishments, yeah, but I mean, that's the hardest thing I ever did in my life. And still, I haven't had a drink in about 18 years or 17 years, and still, I think about it every day.
Yeah.
Every day.
Yeah.
It's constant.
Yeah.
Constant.
One way or another. I know it is a constant battle, and good for you, by the way. Congratulations.
Congratulations to you as well, brother.
Huge.
It's a hard thing.
Hardest thing and best thing to do, to take care of yourself in that way and ask for help and be willing to accept it. It's
quick question about alcoholism. Is it genetic with you? Was your family all? Was your father, grandfather, cousins, uncles, the whole deal?
I don't know. It's not for me to say, really. I don't know. I mean, nobody in my immediate family that I live with or grew up with, but I don't know about the previous generations. Yeah. It's likely, what I mean?
Well,
probable.
What made you start drinking? You started drinking at 13. What made you start?
I
mean, you were living in Massachusetts, right?
Yeah.
That'll do it.
I was going to say, listen, I mean, Massachusetts is a big drinking town,
Shit.
And also, why wouldn't you want to do something that makes you courageous and charming? Or at least makes you think you're courageous and charming.
Terrific dancer, besides. It makes you a great
dancer. Yeah, exactly. So, and something that starts as fun becomes habitual, and then it just, if you have the gene or whatever, everybody's got a different philosophy about why it sort of sticks and stays or whatever. I think I was just kind of born with a chip that liked it way too much. Yeah. So,
and then you segued to cocaine, as obviously Billy did as well, and then you drove a car through
That's a small fault in a good man.
Did your research.
That's a small fault in a good man.
Or you Volvo through a roof or something, a car or a house or something like that.
Oh man, yeah. There was, I was really good at hiding it. I was really good at kind of keeping it together, which I think is it's like, I don't know if it's I grew up in Boston, so it's the only frame of reference I have. But like in Boston, it's, you drink as much as you want, but just keep your stuff together and do your job and, keep it going.
Yeah.
But I would get really good at that, and I'd get a little cocky and then, get a little relaxed, and something bad would happen once a year or something. And then everyone would go, geez, what's happening? This is what a surprise, And I'm like, I know, what a fluke. It's crazy.
That's where you work on your acting skills.
I was in an AA meeting one time. I swear to Christ, I was at an AA meeting. A guy says, how many people out there have ever been arrested? About 20 hands went up. I said, now keep your hands up if you were sober when you put your hands down if you were sober when you got arrested. And all the hands just stayed up there.
Yeah.
It's inevitable.
Yeah.
I mean, it's.
So yeah, I know, it's amazing. I never got arrested after I got sober. Not once.
Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah, how that works.
Yeah.
So back to One Day at a Time. What was it like working with Rita Moreno?
Oh man, it was. That was one of the great things about that. We all just became a family. I know it sounds cliche to say, but we all became a really tight family. And working with Rita was amazing. I mean, she's an icon, and. She's just an incredible performer, incredible actor. We had so much fun, and I would just, everybody on the show. I never went back, in multicams, as you you rehearse the scene that you're in, and then they move on to the next scene and rehearse that scene, and then you do that, you go through the whole show every day. And you're not, unless you're the lead of the show, you're not in every single scene. So I was never in every single scene except maybe 1 or 2 episodes. But when you're not rehearsing, you can go back to your dressing room and do stuff and hang out, get a snack or whatever. I just go to the chairs and sit there and watch rehearsals most of the time. I always just wanted to watch because it was just fun to watch everybody work, and watching Rita work was just incredible. So yeah, it was a blast. And she's, have you met her before? You know her, Frank?
No, but we tried to get her for George Lopez. We tried our hardest to get her to play Benny, George's mother, in George Lopez show. And George, George tried everything, but we couldn't. But we were very fortunate to get Belita Moreno. So she was great. She was great also.
Yeah, well, I feel like Rita just came and did Lopez versus Lopez now.
She might have.
Yeah, she is. She's a piece of work. She's sharp as a tack, so quick and so funny, and she does not hold back. So it's a blast, and she's lovely, and she really. We actually had Crosby was born right before we started season 3, I think. He was born right before season 3, and so he would come to set, and Indy would bring him to set, and Rita became Grammy Rita, and she just adored him. She's
Indy, his wife, is India de Buford, who was a previous guest on our podcast.
Yes,
that's right. Yeah, India is. I'm the lucky husband of India de Beaufort, who's starring on Night Court with you right now, and the reason we know each other, the reason I'm here.
Correct. How did you come about Crosby's name?
That's funny. It's a great question. That was the only name that we didn't argue over, because we had such different ideas about. India had a lot of wonderful English names. She really liked Alfie and Albie and these kind of things. And I had these. I was like, can we name him after a Grateful Dead song? How about Ryder? Or something like that. And I had all these words that ended in ER, and she kept saying, listen, he can't have an ER on the end of his name because half of his family's English. So it's going to sound like Ryder. I said, okay, that's a fair point. So we just couldn't agree on a name. And then one day, one of us said Crosby. It probably came up on a list or something, one of those baby name lists. And both of us said, okay.
So
all right, I like it.
It wasn't named after Crosby, Stills, and Nash.
No, but that's the funny thing. I'm a big Crosby, Stills, and Nash fan, and she loves Bing Crosby. So we both.
That's perfect.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
The bingle.
Yeah, it worked. Yeah. So and he's had quite a childhood. He's been on One Day at a Time. He's been on Night Court. He loves running around those shows.
He's been busted already. He's already been arrested. He's been on Night Court already.
Yeah, right.
So let me ask you a question about Norman Lear. I mean, of course, anybody who's grown up familiar with his work, he writes about everyman. That's his thing. The everyman. Is he like that person? Is he an everyman, or is he?
Yes.
Knock around guy type guy. What's he like?
Yeah, to me he was. I love that guy so much. Really hard. It's crazy. We were all texting, and one of the texts I think I sent was, even at 101, it was too soon.
Yeah,
it's like, the day is coming, but it's just still such a huge loss. But he's one of those guys. So I met him when he's 94. I can't speak to the 94 years previous to that, but to me, he's a guy who, whoever he's in front of, he's relating to that person on a deep level. And he sees himself in that person, and he would say, I don't really think of myself as 97 or 90, whatever. He said, if I'm talking to you, I'm the age that you are, I'm just with you in that moment, So he really had a keen sense for relating to everybody around him. And I think that's part of why his shows were so great and so
honest. His work. Yeah.
Yeah, you can see it in his work. It was a real like honest depiction of life, and he's also a great collaborator too. I mean, a lot of these shows, I know, like, on Good Times particularly, there's a lot of back and forth about how to play characters and how to depict stories and people yeah, he was great. I love that man.
So you directed also an episode of One Day at a Time, and you sitting in those chairs, you watched some pretty good directors work.
Oh man, yeah. I mean, that was one of the things I came on, and I think I'd known Pam Fryman. Pam Fryman directed our pilot and a bunch of our episodes, and I remember I was sitting on set learning lines one time, and she was directing, and she was talking to somebody, and she looked over and she said, "You should be doing this." And I looked over, I said, "You think I can? Really? Okay, yeah, I'd love to." So it was her and Phil Lewis, and really took me under their wings. My buddy Richie Keene. I had a lot of wonderful mentors and people who helped and let me shadow them. And I really shadowed everybody who came in on One Day at a Time for a couple years. And after I felt like I kind of knew that I could do it, I asked for a meeting with Gloria and Mike and said, if we get a third season, I'd love the opportunity to pitch myself to direct one. And they were like, "Oh, of course, that's great. Do it. Let's go." So yeah, I got to direct one in season 3, which is just a blast. I mean, yeah, we were at a Wednesday run through, and you know how this works, but on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday rehearsal, the run throughs get sort of increasingly important as you get studio, and then Wednesday's network, and then Thursday you're camera blocking, and Friday you're shooting. So Wednesday we had our network run through, and I just remember sitting next to Norman watching the run through and him just guffawing, laughing. And I can't take all the credit for that. There was incredible writing, incredible acting in that run through, but I was still going, he is laughing at something that I directed, and it was just one of the best moments of my life. But we had a blast. It was,
Is that something is that something you're interested in doing more of, directing?
Yeah. I'm just directed another short, and like to get back and direct some more multicam. And when I'm not acting, I'm doing a lot of producing and trying to direct more as well.
Been intimidating to throw on the hat for the first time when you say you're going to be a director?
Yeah, it was terrifying, Billy. It's terrifying. I remember driving to work on Tuesday morning, going down Venice Boulevard, which goes all the way out to the beach for the most part. Mm-hmm. And I was stopped at Overland about to take a left to go down to Sony, and I just thought to myself, I could keep driving. Just drive straight to the beach and not look back, because it was terrifying. But once after a couple days, and the nice thing was I was very lucky. I had a very, I'm directing this incredible cast who's like family to me, and an incredible support. The crew, I was so supported. The crew was wonderful and really helped me and taught me so much. And I've been asking them, picking their brains all season about everything. So it was, after a couple of days, it became less terrifying and really, really fun. But yeah, it's a lot, That's why the directors get paid the big bucks.
Yep.
I thought the producers were the ones that were making all the cash. What's
Wrong. Wrong. So
you're not getting enough.
No. So after One Day at a Time wrapped, you went on to do another show with Gloria.
Yeah, I did.
Dr. Miles Murphy, along with our friend Constance Marie.
Yes, that's right. Of course. Yeah. Oh, I forgot that you know Constance Marie. I love Constance. I was, again, really lucky. Gloria wrote this beautiful show. If anybody hasn't seen With Love, there's 2 seasons on Amazon. It's great. It's just a beautiful show. And yeah, Gloria had a part, and I don't know if she wrote it for me. She may have. Regardless, she's like the patron saint of my life, and was lucky enough that she asked me to do it, and we just had a blast. It was a beautiful, really kind of historic storyline, and a beautiful storyline, and something I was excited to play, and we had so much fun. Should have gone longer.
Yeah.
I say that about all these shows,
Yeah.
though.
Everything you're on should have gone longer.
That's right. That's right. Yeah,
I never should have been canceled.
that's right. Yeah, exactly.
Caught a bad
I
break
mean-
with COVID, though. That killed one of them. That kind of caught a bad break there.
Yeah, it did. It did. I mean, I think Hollywood's had a rough couple of years between COVID and strikes, and all the stuff that's
And
happening.
there's probably going to be another strike on August 1st. So the below the
Yeah, is that what's happened with IATSE?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
that'll probably be a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
So
Well, we'll be out there on the picket lines with them.
for sure.
I got to say, the IATSE supported the writers and the actors like I've never seen another union support a sister brother union. And
Teamsters, Billy, Teamsters.
Teamsters, we did it
I'll
right.
do anything for those guys.
So
Yeah.
now here's a loaded question. What shows did you watch growing up? What sitcoms did you watch growing up?
Oh man, everything.
All in the Family, of course.
All in the Family. I mean, pretty much everything Norman did. All in the Family was a big one. So here, some of the sitcoms. So Cheers. When I was growing up, I felt like, because I grew up in Massachusetts, I felt like Cheers was happening in Boston.
Right.
I had such a connection to that show. I also, one of my all-time favorites is Taxi. But really all of them, I mean, yeah, All in the Family, Jefferson's, Good Times, Taxi, Cheers. I mean, whatever was on, really. I mean, as it went on, it's like, as I got older, Coach. I remember my dad and I used to love to watch Coach together. He thought Craig T. Nelson was so funny on that, and we used to watch. A shout out to my buddy Jerry Burns. We used to love watching my buddy Jerry Burns on Dear John with Judd Hirsch.
All those shows hold up.
They all do.
If you watch an episode of Cheers, even though it was made 40 years ago, it's still fucking. It's still fucking funny.
It's well written. MASH. You can watch MASH today, no problem. Well written. It's well written.
Yeah.
The dialogue is
And I
rich.
still
It's
do.
crisp. Yeah, I do too. It's crisp. It's rich. Some of the shit they put out now, it's like it's maddening.
Yeah.
I mean, it
And I
really
also-
is.
Well, I mean, Hello Larry was put out then. My Mother the Car. I don't think you were. I don't think My Mother the Car. Everybody knows in your second life, you'll come back sooner. I can still sing the words to My Mother the Car theme song. Oh my God.
Yeah, no, if you go through the lineup of the shows back in the day, like if you Google what, NBC's lineup in 72 or something, it's not all hits.
Yeah, exactly.
Far be it.
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
We think
Listen,
about
like-
the classics.
Yeah, we romanticize all that. We only remember the good stuff, But,
It's like remember
yeah,
when you used to get drunk. It's the same thing. You always remember the good times. You
That's
think
right.
about the good times.
exactly. It's exactly right. But yeah,
I want to ask you a question, an irrelevant question. I'll ask
Yeah.
Billy first. Were you a good drunk or a bad drunk?
I was a terrific drunk. Everybody loved me. I was the greatest drunk in the world. I come in, decorate the mahogany. I come in, throw a couple hundred on the bar. Everybody gets a squirt. And at the end of the night, they'd be picking my head up out of the, off the bar.
3 nights later.
Oh, no, the same. I mean, yeah, well, that's another thing. I used to love these. You ever meet these people? I drink myself sober. I said, yeah, you drink yourself sober. That shit don't work after 5 or 6 days. The 6th day, it just don't work. But guys that used to
Sure.
pick my head, the bartender picked my head up. Billy, I got to go home. It's 5 o'clock in the morning. Billy, come on, you gotta get out of here. Oh, yeah. I remember one time a guy told me, I said, I can drink tequila all day. I don't know what it is about tequila. I said, but I just don't get drunk on it. The guy says, you know what that is? The lemons. You keep eating the lemons, it keeps you sober. I said, no shit. Well, that morning when the bartender picked my head up, I had lemons stuck all over my head. That's another myth blown out the window. But yeah, I mean, I was a great drunk. All the bartenders loved me.
I think, Todd, could you answer that question?
Yeah, I would say, you listen, I think it depends on who you ask. I got a question for you. If I asked your girlfriends back in the day if you were good, well, I mean, it just depends.
Yeah.
But I think, I like to think I was a blast too. I like to think of myself. It's like Billy does, which I think is fairly accurate in most cases. It's hard to tell. I had a blast.
It's perspective. It's perspective.
You had a blast.
Perspective. It's perspective. But I had a blast. We had fun.
What's
We had fun until we didn't.
Billy? What's the funniest thing you ever heard in a meeting?
At an AA meeting?
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus. The very funniest thing. I tell you, the day that I walked out of AA for the first time, I'd been there, 3 or 4 times. You get off the wagon, on the wagon. And this guy got up to tell a story. And he says, if you don't think that I belong here, which is that's a usual lead on a lot of guys telling their story. If you don't think I belong here, and then they tell their worst thing. This guy said he was robbing a warehouse, right? 4 o'clock in the morning, the guy he met in the bar, they're robbing a warehouse, and it was an appliance warehouse. And the guy says, I was hearing him, we were drunk, and he was the mastermind, and we broke into the warehouse and everything else. And then I realized that we were going to escape on bicycles. And when the guy was telling that story, I said to the guy next to me, I said, that's it, I'm fucking out of here. And the guy said, what, you don't think you belong? I said, I'm not as bad as these guys. I'm out of here. The guy says, your father a drunk? I said, yeah. He goes, your brother a drunk? Yeah. Your grandfather a drunk? I said, yeah. But you don't belong here. I said, no, I don't belong here. He said, I'll save you a seat.
Alcoholism didn't run in your family.
It galloped, and it really did. He used to say,
Gallop.
yeah, it does. It gallops. He said to me, I'll save you a seat. And he was right. I was back, a couple of months later, I was back in there again.
Yeah.
The old, let's just have a couple of beers. I can have a couple of beers when I'm watching a ball game. I can have wine with my dinner.
Yeah.
I'm good with that. That's no problem.
Yeah, that's the greatest myth, right? That we can try to drink like normal people.
like it doesn't want to kill you. The fucking disease is not trying to kill you. Yeah.
So Todd, what do you got?
I tried everything. I was like, I'm only gonna drink wine.
Yeah.
I tried.
I'm only gonna drink on Fridays and Saturdays. None of this, none of that. You try all these.
Everybody else was drinking. I just had a couple of beers.
I'm fortunate. I hate the taste of alcohol. I just despise it.
That's lucky.
That is lucky, yeah.
So what's next for you on the acting front?
Oh, sorry. I thought you were talking to Billy there for a second.
No. Heroin, Frank. Heroin's the next thing for me. With love.
Right, yeah, exactly. Right now, I'm With Love was just canceled at the end of last year, and so I'm looking around to see what else I'm going to do after that.
Back to an episodic.
Yeah. I'd like to do another multicam, to be honest. If I could do multicams for the rest of my life, that's probably what I'd do.
As a director or as an actor?
As an actor and director.
Actor and director, both.
But I'm developing I've got 4 shows I'm developing right now. One of them's a multicam for myself and another person. Nice 2-hander. So that's moving along, and hope I'd like that to be the next one.
Yeah.
But we'll see.
The powers to be.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, honestly, I'll be wherever they tell me to stand and have a paycheck whenever I'm told to do so. That's how we go.
Derek, you have any questions?
Yeah, my first question is: I heard the X-Files. I heard the X-Files are coming back. So, is that true?
I don't know.
I have no idea.
Oh, the reason why I asked that question is you look a little bit like you remind me of David Duchovny.
Oh, really? Oh, dude, thank you, man.
You've never
That's
heard that
so
before?
funny. I've gotten that a couple times.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
See, I'm getting Paul Rudd myself.
Oh, Paul, that's a good one.
I have gotten Paul Rudd almost every day since I moved to LA. Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
I actually auditioned to play his brother in a movie. I think it was what was the I Love You Man. And I walked in there like, I've been told so many times I look like Paul Rudd. I mean, why do I even have to audition for this? Just give me I should just get this. And of course, in a comedy, they're not going to cast a guy that looks just like him. They're going to cast, the brother as
The black guy.
Andy Samberg, which was a great choice. But yeah, no, I've gotten Paul Rudd quite a bit.
I got another question. So,
yeah.
So you are married to an actor.
Mm-hmm.
So 2 actors in the house. Do you guys ever decide or think about getting the iPhones together, writing a little script, and putting something together in the backyard?
In the backyard?
Yeah.
No, not in the back. Well, we'd also like to make money. So if we're going to work together, probably, but yes, no, we've actually, Indy and I have been on stage together a couple times. We do every once in a while. We got a great group of friends, got a huge group of actor, director, writer friends. And years ago, Gloria and some other friends started a night of one act plays that has been a fundraiser for Susan G. Komen Breast Cancer Foundation. So for years, we would rent out the Stella Adler Theater for a couple weeks and do these night of one acts. And one of those times, Indy and I got to do a piece together. And then recently, we just revived it. We hadn't done it in like 10 years. And we revived it during the strikes last year because nobody was working. But we thought, well, we could still do theater. So we brought it back and got everybody together. And we did it at the Pico Playhouse for a couple weekends and just had a blast and raised money for the Entertainment Community Fund for everybody during the strikes because we wanted to do something to help out. And Indy and I got to do a nice piece that Gloria wrote actually during that. So far what am I saying? We've also, Indy and I were, she played my love interest on One Day at a Time in the 3rd and 4th season. And I also did a recurring spot on a show she was on called Jane by Design years and years ago, but we never had any scenes together. So we've acted a bit together. Playing love interest on One Day at a Time was a blast. But yeah, we've talked a lot about creating something just for the two of us, which would be such a blast. But so we've always, like happens in this business, she's working, I'm not, I'm working, she's not. It's like you got to make the stars align. So we'll figure it out at some point. But that would be a dream.
I'd be remiss if I didn't ask how you guys met. Did you meet in the theater?
We met in acting class. We were in an acting class together. We were studying with Leslie Kahn. And listen, I'm just going to say it. I was the TA in the class. It may not have been totally appropriate. But also, it's acting class.
It's acting class. Go for the girl. That's right.
Yeah. It wasn't an accredited institution of learning or something. We met in this class it was for me, it was love at first sight, you guys. I'll just say it.
Nice.
She walked in and I was like, damn, who is that? Who's that woman? And then, but I was very respectful for about a year. I didn't, for me, I think acting class is a very sacred place. I didn't want to be some creepy guy who made her feel uncomfortable in this class she was in because it's important. But after about a year, I got a little hint that she might be interested. And so I was like, okay, I'll ask her out. And then after that, we've been inseparable ever since.
Are you guys competitive as actors?
Competitive with each other?
Yeah.
No. We're really supportive of each other. It's like, I remember when she told me she got Night Court, it was I was screaming, running around the kitchen, We're just so happy for each other.
Oh yeah? Who's the better actor?
That's a great question, Derek.
Well, no.
I'll have to ask India.
You have
great questions. You were right in there.
You have categories. He's the best male actor and she's the best female actor.
There you go. Thank you. Yeah, listen, we're all works in progress. That was one of the things. That was one of the things that I was attracted to when I met her. That she just really is such a committed actor and just goes for it, and she's so good that it's as another actor it's attractive. I got a talent crush on her.
Yeah,
that's for sure.
And one more question: do you guys talk shop? Like, do you talk? Obviously, there's strategy in all business. So, do you talk strategy and shop in the industry?
Yeah, all the time. Yeah, we do. We're really we everything for the business side of it, the creative side of it. Whenever I have an idea for a show or something that I think I'm like, I want to develop this, I always run it by her first. She's the most honest with me. I'm the most honest with her, I think, in her life. And I think it's invaluable to have that. Before we got together, I still have friends I bounce stuff off of and look to, and I have an acting coach who's one of my best friends, John Rosenfeld. And he gives it to me straight too. And the one thing is we stopped doing auditions with each other. We're really great with like I'll watch episodes in Night Court and she's like, what did you think? And I'm like, you were great. This was awesome. I loved it. And I remember being in a scene at One Day at a Time in the first season. And I needed the closest person in the world to me to tell me, like, is this good? Am I doing a good job? And she was up, I think she was in the audience or something. I leaned out of the thing and I was like, hey, what, is it good? Is it bad? Am I pushing? What do you think? And she was just like,
That's
so
Nice.
it's, you need that seal of approval from a loved one and for someone to get it from, I'm lucky that I'm married to a really talented actor who I trust and to give me the honest scoop. But the one thing we don't do, we stopped doing auditions with each other, I will say. And I don't think she'll mind me sharing this because it's funny, but we used to do auditions because especially when everything moved inside because of COVID and we stopped running around town and going into people's offices, right? You're taping at home, you're taping these auditions. And so, the easiest thing to do, it's like, oh, great, I live with an actor. They can read the lines. They'll be great at it, And we either get really frustrated with each other or we can't stop laughing. Right. And it just takes forever. And we were like, listen, you know what? It's better for our marriage if we just have people that we do our auditions with. Because it's a vulnerable spot when you're auditioning, and it's like I get really short and frustrated, and she's like, you could be nicer to me while we're doing this, and I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm just being a dick, and then there's sometimes we're like, sometimes we're putting something on tape that's not that great, and and I'm doing it, and I can't help but do like a comedic version of it. And she's like, stop making it funny. It's a horror film, and I'm like, I know, but this line's ridiculous, and it's so much funnier if I say it this way. She's like, you're not auditioning. I'm auditioning. She's like, just say the lines, man. But so we just said, let's just do it with our own people, and it's been nice. But yeah, no, I'm very lucky to. I think I wouldn't want it any other way. 2 actors in a household's a lot of fun.
I want to segue real quick to the guitars on the wall there. You've been playing them long? Or
Yeah.
you serious about that? How long you been doing it? Was that part of your...
Well, those are just to make me look cool, Billy.
Yeah, but no, I'm wondering how long you serious about it as a deal. Would you in a band? Were you in a band? Would you play?
No, I was never in a band. It's a hobby. I love playing. I'm not very good. I still take lessons here and there. But I just love tinkering, and if nobody's around, I'll sing and play. But I'll probably never play publicly. I just, I'm a big fan of music.
Was that since you were a kid? Were you fooling around with guitar since you were a kid? So, I mean...
Since high school. I played piano as a kid. This is one of my regrets in life. My parents had me do piano lessons. I took piano lessons forever. I was really pretty good, I could sight read and, I was doing recitals and the whole thing. And then when I got to high school, it was like, this piano's not cool. You know what's cool? Electric guitars and weed. I'm going to do that. And my parents, my mom, so I told my mom, because I think I was like 15. She said, you can make your own choices. I'm just telling you this. You're going to regret this. Don't quit the piano. And I said, that's fine. I know what I know. I'm quitting. And I wish I played. I wish I'd never quit. I'd love to be able to play the piano now. I can still play a little bit, but nothing like I used to. And if I try to learn, it's pretty herky jerky. So, but I do love playing guitar. But it's really, I'm not that great.
You could have been the next Billy Joel.
I know. Wouldn't that have been great? He's amazing, huh?
Yep.
Frank, you play the piano.
My story is similar to Todd's. I played a lot when I was younger. I played in a band.
Whoa.
Played the piano in a band.
Oh,
they call them mooks.
It was the late city edition. It was the late city edition.
Good name.
Yeah, well, I ripped off the first edition, just dropped in to see what condition my condition was in. I said, well, my city condition, that's close enough.
I love it.
That was a good one. But
Oh.
I sort of dropped off, when I got married and other things. I realized
Yeah.
it wasn't going to make my career as a musician. So I just, life got in the way of my piano playing.
It's not an easy road. I mean, I think it's harder to be a musician than it is to be an actor.
It's a rough road because there are even fewer of really top musicians that make it.
Yeah.
More actors
Yeah.
that make it. Well, Todd, you've been a delight. I want to thank you for
Pleasure meeting you, man.
being on the show.
Oh, guys, this was a blast. Let's just turn the cameras off and keep going.
Well, we do that often.
I bet.
But thanks for being there. Love to India. Stay on your boy Crosby. 2 for 2 can be up 3 for 3, become 4 for 4. The next thing you know, you're that parent in the at the high school game that's screaming at the umpires. So
Yeah, I'll be losing my voice at high school games for sure. For sure. You guys, thank you this was an honor to be here.
Oh, it was great to
Such a
meet you.
blast.
It
It
was
was
great to meet you.
honor to have you.
Yeah, and I'll see you guys soon.
Thank
Hope
you,
so.
my friend.
Thanks so much for having me.
You're right.
Take care, brother.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Great guy, man. Really
Yeah.
nice guy. Sweetheart.
Was a sweetheart.
Hell of a guy.
So,
It's
what was,
another one in the books, Frank.
what was that comment you made there?
I don't know, but if you're dragging it up, it can't be good. I'm going to get chastised.
I-
Am I getting chastised, Derek?
I believe. Derek, could you play about 30 seconds of that song? Can you play that song for about 30
Oh,
seconds?
the asshole song?
Were you born an asshole? Or did you work it your whole life? Either way, it worked out fine. 'Cause you're an asshole tonight.
Good night, everybody. Good night, everybody. See you next week.
We'll see you next week.